Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Black.
And I'm Ryan Bulis.
Together we make up the team, Brian and Ryan.
We are presenting Awakening in Ourselves, Awakening in Our Students.
A willingness to play, break rules, and take risks. Sorry about that. All right.
No, is that the beginning? Sorry, everyone. Give me a second. We scroll through the whole presentation accidentally.
We were practicing too much, apparently.
Inherent in our collaboration is a journey into the unknown. Elements of our performances are agreed upon in advance, but there is always an unanticipated development. Well, backpack, we designed the backpacks knowing it would restructure the game, but I could not have anticipated how lost I would get in the competition. I never identified myself as an aggressive person, but the inverted game separated my notion of the athlete from myself, the game player, and I was driven to win. In the first version of the work, I did not win. Brian is a more talented shooter, but the hunger to win gave me a profound pause, and I continued to reflect on my nature, and this led me to much of my own academic work on blood sport and physiognomy. Also, I won the second time we performed this game. Also part of the Brian Ryan persona is the amplified rivalry and competition. In a later work in 2016, we performed a series of competitions, including half-pipe basketball and half-pipe ping pong. In this performance, I found the same glimpse into the darker side of competition, that need to win that makes you lose yourself a little bit.
The Cross Walkathon in 2019 is a transition away from the competitive works and a move away from a formal audience. This performance is purposely insular and does not rely on an institution or official audience. During the 8-hour period, we continuously walked the 4 crosswalks in downtown San Diego, only stopping to record the wear on the bottom of my shoes and on the soles of Ryan's feet. This documentation of the journey became the most significant aspect of the piece. We were unnoticed by the passing pedestrians. There was a small unofficial audience, including the homeless man on the corner, questioning we passed him, and a small group at the corner bar who took notice of our actions and even cheered for us. By commandeering that location and extending that moment, gave ourselves the opportunity to reflect on the work in real time. Bubble Boy Ping Pong in 2010 would be the next piece that continued to explore a detachment from an audience. The thick plastic bubble, combined with the blowing fans, kept us separated from the people outside. Even so, moments arose when the audience attempted to connect with us. My most indelible memory is a young boy coming to the bubble and pressing his hand up against it in an attempt to make a physical connection with us.
Based on what we had learned from the insular nature of Bubble Boy Ping Pong and the Cross Walkathon, the sound collection helmets were the next logical evolution in our work. But this time we wanted to reverse this paradigm and engage the audience directly, using the spectacle of the helmets to draw in audience participants. We asked people to talk about their city. These stories, along with the ambient sounds of the city, became part of an ongoing audio anthology from across the country. The participants do not have to understand the full scope of the project, just their shared part. This work is an attempt to awaken people's understanding of living in a location as they define that place through storytelling.
Tub Talk in 2019 is one of our more current works. It also got two of us from the spectacle. The participants step into the erect bathtubs and are encouraged to communicate using the tube connecting the tubs. The installation is an empty vessel until the audience activates it. This situation allows an opportunity for the audience to experience the simplicity of acoustic sound amplification while drawing their own connections to the intimacy of person-to-person communication.
Our most pedagogical work is a piece from 2019. For Horacer, participants were given a large format list of graphite stenciled words. They were then asked to erase one word at a time until only one remained. This piece really highlights a shared teaching philosophy for both Brian and myself. We aim to give the audience or our students an opportunity to have their own unique epiphany. To a great extent, the audience controls the meaning of this work. Likewise, the goal of our respective classrooms is to offer a similar opportunity for the students to direct their own growth and have a meaningful classroom experience.
This admissible mixture of familiarity and uncertainty is what we look for in our collaboration, and it's what we attempt to facilitate with our students. 20 years of teaching art at Crawford High School in San Diego, my job is to help students develop technical skills, art appreciation, and visual literacy. But my self-appointed intent is to awaken their ability to think divergently and to take conceptual risks. If I successfully facilitate this awakening, they're able to look beyond the formal aspects of art making and begin to reassess everything. During the shutdown, however, I faced a personal teaching crisis. Could I trust my students to interpret an open-ended assignment in this new virtual learning format? How do I support them and give them feedback? Not to mention, how do I assess this work? So I started having them do simple searches around the house to collect line, pattern, color groupings. And I asked them to discuss what surprised them most about their discoveries. These lessons met with some success, and I believed a conceptually based lesson could work. So I asked my students to discover, record, and present on a meaningful sound within their household. I took a teaching risk and left the parameters open-ended. Their work surpassed my expectations. They were becoming conscious, having an awakening of the role sound plays in the dynamics of their household. And the discourse I was having with the students as they developed the work became as important as the final products. They would send me samples for approval, give me some written notes, and some of them for the first time attended office hours. It was this dialogue with my students, similar to the dialogue that Ryan and I engage in, that I valued the most. They showed a willingness to play and discover, and that helped to reawaken my zeal for teaching even during this unprecedented crisis.
In my foundational courses at Palomar College, my objective is to introduce students to a conceptual approach grounded in the methods and materials of each foundational course. Although not all my projects give total freedom for students to self-determine their own outcomes, I do, however, hope my students have an awakening with each project. If done right, they come out of my class with a greater awareness of the subtle wonders and beauty in their everyday environment. During my Intro to Drawing 1 course, the project that is especially satisfying from a conceptual perspective is the Cheeto still life. I aim to introduce my students to the fundamentals of drawing geometric forms while also updating the concept of the traditional still life. Each Cheeto, cheese ball, Pringle, and cheese curl offer a neon orange version of near geometric forms. The curved cylinder under the sphere lay just beneath the powdered cheese surface of each snack food. Students select forms and are then tasked to draw 100 studies in orange chalk pencil. We discuss the methods of drawing gesture and value through the work of Oldenburg and other landscape illustrators, loose lines and block shapes with smudges of black and gray to define form and shadow. The still life as a theme can be read through two symbolic lenses. The first read of the object and the still life is to understand the culture of the artist's time and place. Think of Frida Kahlo's last painting of two watermelons. We are given a sliver of insight into the culture of Kahlo's Mexico. The other symbolic read is the traditional still life from the Dutch Baroque. The artist attempts to arrest flowers and fruit in a permanent state of full bloom and ripeness, acting as a memento mori in attempts to mimic the promise of immortality. Ironically, the irony of the Cheetos and the cheese drawings are that they achieve this kind of immortality through the artist's hand and the miracle of preservatives. forever full, forever neon orange. Once the dust settles, the students look down at their fingers covered in orange chalk dust and become conscious of the real and artificial qualities of the Cheetos and their drawings. Armed with this new awareness, I anticipate my students are able to leave my classroom better prepared to make their own conceptual choices.
Thank you.